Hi guys, welcome to another video. And not long ago actually I did a review of the canned version of this beer, and I don't know, I thought mainly because I've got so many German videos to upload. I don't just want it to be German video, German video, German video, even though maybe I should really embrace that and really promote German craft beer. But I like to divide it up a little bit, and that's the main reason why I'm doing this. The other reason, well, actually, this is the main reason. I'm always intrigued about comparing like different beers to different beers and different variations of the same beer, and I wanted to see if I could pick anything out from this differently than what I got in the can. I've not revisited that video. I very rarely watch my own videos anyway, because I didn't want my the power of persuasion, or that's not the word, that's not the proper word, but you know what I mean. I didn't want to rewatch it and then have ideas planted in my head and then I just regurgitate those ideas and look for the things that I found last time. But I remember drinking Heineken in a can, a little 330ml can, and I thought it was a fairly decent macro lager. And I came to the conclusion that, yeah, I'd happily drink it again, but being here in Germany, surrounded by beautiful Helles beers, and Augustiner especially, for cheaper, you know, it's not really an option for me to buy these drinks on a regular basis. And I think my neighbour is shouting at workmen, which, fair enough, it is 20 to 8 in the evening, but yeah, he's a funny guy. Anyway, yeah, so lost my train of thought completely then. Yeah, I've got good high quality German lagers around me that are much more affordable, so I'll always opt for them. And you know me by now, Augustiner to me is the best beer in the world, and I can get it for as little as like 70-80 cents, so it's a no-brainer. But yeah, this is the bottled version of Heineken, or one of the bottled variants. This is in a 400ml bottle, and this is brewed by Heineken, obviously, in Amsterdam. But I'm not sure if it's contract brewed by Heineken Deutschland, or if it is actually just more of an import sort of network. But yeah, so ingredients are water, malted barley, and hop extract. So yeah, iconic beer. It's very popular beer as well. I see a lot of people back in the UK drinking this on a regular basis, although from what I've heard, in some parts of England you don't really see this, which I found very odd. But yeah, Heineken beer, premium quality, original recipe with Heineken A yeast, brewed with passion for quality. And I think, haven't they recently discovered like a really old yeast strain, and they're developing a new beer with it, which I think's, it's an interesting thing. I know we look down on beers like this. Well, I don't really, unless it is a really bad beer. But I don't know, I like the history, and I like the story of even like the biggest macro breweries, and I like the fact that the guys over in the States get completely different variants of this beer, and like different territories get different variants. I mean, take Guinness for example. It's absolutely crazy. By the way, as you can tell, this probably isn't like a proper review. If you want to see my initial thoughts, I'll put the link down below to the canned version. But yeah, take Guinness for instance. Just all the different variants you get in all parts of the world. It's just absolutely crazy to me and fascinating to me. And I was doing the August 11, the Czech beer, and I got a comment from Pierre, I think it's pronounced, who's commented a few times, actually got in touch on Facebook and that sort of thing. And he was telling me that those beers are brewed by different breweries within one area, and I found that really fascinating. And I like the story, I like the history, I like the journey of it. And yeah, so I thought, why not give this another go? Maybe at some point I'll do a video where I directly compare the can to the bottle. Nobody asked for that video, but it's just interesting to me when you put stuff side by side. So yeah, iconic looking label anyway. It's just a sticker. Same with the neck, and yeah, a nice looking crown, it has to be said, in a green bottle of course, so prone to skunking, which is a plus point for the can, I'd imagine. And I remember that the beer in the can that I had was actually rather well conditioned. So some people might say, why are you tainting a beautiful glass like that? Because I'm just interested, so let's see what we get. See if I can notice anything different between this and the canned version, which I suspect not. And if there were, it'd probably be down to the condition of the beer in the glass anyway. Best before date is the 3rd of the 18th, or 2018, so March 2018. So beer in the glass then, and yeah, it's that goldy appearance to it. I don't know, those little bits clinging to the, or is that just like that frog spawn effect? It's got rid of them slightly. I was worried there were like little bits and bobs in there then. But yeah, nicely carbonated. Some would say overly carbonated, but yeah, crystal clear. Lovely orangey hues. Not really like a pale straw colour, but it's got a little bit of a dark tinge to it. And beer poured with, well, I've just generated about half a finger's worth of a lining of white head. So it's what you'd expect it to look like, really. So let's see what we get on the aroma. And it's actually really quite cakey. Yeah, it's got this sort of like slightly sweety, desserty, cakey malt character coming from it. And then once that little aroma has surpassed, the graininess comes through. It has that slight syrupy aroma to it, although I don't think they use corn syrup. I could be completely wrong. I don't know if they're allowed to not put it on the label if they do put it in there. But yeah, it's got that sort of like grainy, bitty, extracty sweetness to it. Very subtle hop character. It's more like a salad leaf with a bit of pepper maybe. And then you get that slight muskiness in there from the style in general. Not really any strong metallic aromas or anything like that. No fartiness like some of these beers tend to have. Yeah, it's all around a very pleasant, if quite dull, smelling beer, which is, yeah, it's a good thing. I'd rather have that than like a beer that absolutely stinks, unless it smells good. Anyway, off to a good start. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. It's not the most flavoursome beer, it has to be said. Carbonation feels a lot more aggressive as you're actually drinking it compared to what it looks like in the glass. It's got a relatively light and crisp body to it. Under the right circumstances, chilled down nicely, which this is. Very drinkable, quaffable, thirst quenching. There's like a very subtle spiciness throughout the beer. The only thing that I would say that works against this beer is it's got a slight bit of an off taste on the back end. Not too pleasant, it has to be said. But far from a pourable beer. You know, unless you had a bottle that had been left out in the sun for God knows how long, it had been shaken about and just treated terribly. There's nothing in there that's really too offensive. Again though, I get that sensation that I get when I know there's extract in a beer. That like slight sweet syrupy, but still at the same time gritty sort of flavour to it. And yeah, it's, I think it's that hop extract that's given it that quite a strange aftertaste on the back end. But I say that, it doesn't get overpowering or anything like that. Very solid beer. Although I seem to remember that the canned version had maybe a little bit more character to it. And probably the canning process actually preserves the beer. I mean, we know it does in general anyway. A lot of people would opt for a canned version of the beer as opposed to a bottled version. I like the bottled version for the artwork because you can peel a label off on a can unless it's a can that's had a label stuck onto it. Whereas if you've got a can where the design's on the can, you've got to keep hold of the can, or you've got to like cut it out and then flatten it or something like that. But why am I talking about that? But cans, I think with beers like this, I think it would help the style. Not just because of the fact that it can block out the sun and it doesn't become skunky, although I've had slightly skunked canned beer before. But yeah. From what I remember, and without going back and looking through, I'm going to say the canned version for me is a better drinking experience. Off flavour at the end aside, this is one of those beers where, and I said this in my Qingdao review, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's not Tsingtao, it's Qingdao. Qingdao, I think that's how that is pronounced, the Chinese beer. It's one of those beers where you'll see low scores on Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, Untapped. You'll see people shitting on it here on YouTube. It doesn't deserve the hatred that it gets. Is it a fine example of the style? No, not at all. This will not hold a candle to at least 80% of the traditionally brewed Helles beers here in Germany. But is it a beer that I would turn my nose up if someone offered me it, if it was available at a bar? It's one of those things where I'd be in the mood to try a Heineken. You know, it's that sort of thing. And it's not an awful beer. And when you see these people bitching on it for that reason, it's probably because they might have a skunked bottle. It could be a little bit out of date, that sort of thing. But there's nothing in there that should lead people to just like, can't drink this, pour it away, shit on it, brag about it on like the UK Craft Beer Forum on Facebook. You know, it's not one of those beers. So far from perfect, but solidly crafted enough, even for a macro level. Yeah, it's not as pure as some of the beers available out there. And I probably wouldn't want to session this too much just because of that carbonation. That's probably the biggest thing for me as I'm drinking it now. It's the carbonation. It's that slight bloated feeling you get from it, as opposed to that nasty flavour on the back end. Aside from that, there's really nothing to it. It's just simple, mass-produced. Have a few bottles, have a few cans, perfect session beer. If you're into this sort of stuff, it's a great example of those types of beers. For me, I stick to it. I'd rather pick a Helles beer like Augustina any day. I'd pick that over like, you know, the best craft beer in the world, probably, under the right circumstances, depending on how much you'd be, you know, asking for it. You know, it's like, would I rather pay? Because I've seen cans of Trillium on photos around Europe. Would I rather pay €18 for a can of Trillium or less than €1 for a bottle of Augustina? I'm picking the goddamn Augustina every friggin' day. And yeah, this doesn't shine a candle to it, but it's by far an awful beer. And I do think, from what I can remember, the canned version is much better. So maybe I will do a comparison video at some point. We'll see how that goes. And I've talked for 15 minutes about this beer. I'm not going to edit it though. You're going to have to suffer through it. So in terms of a rating then, I'm going to give this 5.5 out of 10. It's just slightly above average for its style and for my personal taste and preferences. Would I pick it up again? Well, obviously I am if I'm going to be comparing it to the canned version in the future. But yeah, I'd drink it again. I'd make sure that the other stuff available first, but I wouldn't say no to it. So if you haven't done so already, I'll put the original review downstairs, down in the description box. Again, if any of my, well, I'm not going to link anyone's reviews down below because they were already linked on the video that I made previously. And you know what? When I make videos like this on beers like this, I get more viewers. So, you know, everyone wins at the end of the day. So check out Heineken, check out my macro lager playlist, check out my original review, and hopefully I haven't put you off from watching another video beer review. So thank you guys for watching, and I shall hopefully see you later. Cheers.